Hello, this is James Hudnall, and last Friday we lost one of our dearest companions, one of our cartoonists, who was probably one of the most humble and likable people in the industry. I'm talking about Batton Lash, a great cartoonist and a great friend of mine. The world really doesn't know who they're missing out on, except for those who have met him and spent time with him. I've met a lot of people in this world. I've been all over the world. I've lived over 60 years. So I can say this pretty accurately that I've met a lot of people and very few are as nice and as good as Batton Lash. He was one of the best people I've known in my life. And he was a very humble person overall. I wouldn't say he was a saint necessarily, but he certainly was close to one compared to a lot of people. I mean, he was a very honest, real person. He wasn't a fake or a phony, and he was a very sincere, caring human being, more so than a lot of people that I've met in this life. He was a lover of animals, and he loved his wife, Jackie Estrada, very much. They had been together for almost 25 years. He was a very caring individual, and he was very sociable, and I was lucky to have worked with him and collaborated with him on a project. But we also had a really good friendship, and we had a lot of common interests like TV shows that we watched, movies, comics especially. That was our biggest connection. We were both longtime comic book fans. We both came out of the same era, even though he was about almost 5 years older than me. But, we were two fans turned pros. One of the things that made us simpatico, I think, was the fact that both of us were kind of outsiders, and we were also independents. Not necessarily by choice in Batton's case, I don't know. But in my case, I was a person who preferred to be on the outside. And Batton was more or less on the outside, although he worked for companies like Archie for a long time, on and off. But we both focused on our own creations, our independent work, and we both had a perspective that came from that. We also had the commonality of neither of us drank or smoked or did drugs. It just didn't appeal to us. It wasn't like something that, we had to do or anything. Like some people did it to fit in or something, but we just didn't do it. And we both had the same experience, which is that if you are like that and you don't drink, you don't do drugs and stuff like that, you can be judged by a lot of people. It's both of us find that very confounding because, we don't care if other people did it. We just didn't do it ourselves. That's all. But there's a strange kind of thing in this world that if you're sober, that some people will be threatened by that in some way and they don't want to hang out with you, which is kind of strange. Because both of us are really nice guys. I mean, I consider myself a nice guy. Most people do. Batten was, I would say, nicer than me because he was more sociable than I was, or am. He was friends with a lot of people all over the place. And he was very active with his wife especially, of going out and talking to people in the industry, and he had a great social network. I think a lot of it came from his wife, but still, he was part of that package, and I think a lot of people liked him a lot. You could see the outpouring of love on Facebook, people that really feel crushed by this, and I don't blame them. It certainly bothered me. I knew it was coming because he was diagnosed about almost 2 years ago with brain cancer, which at first he thought it was a minor thing. At least that's what they told him. But the trouble with brain cancer is that once it gets in there, it just very easily gets all through your system. So there was a time where he had trouble talking and everything, and that was really horrible. And then he got better. He was on chemo, and suddenly he was talking almost like he was almost his old self, but he never... Once he was diagnosed, I don't think he ever was quite the same because he wasn't as upbeat. He was obviously holding in a lot of anxiety about it, and I don't blame him. There was a time where he and I used to talk a lot, and we used to commensurate about things, and there was a time it just sort of faded away, our conversations. I had to do all the work. I had to be the one that called him. And he would always say, I'll call you next week or something, and he never did. But I don't take it personally. It's just kind of sad, because I knew that he was dealing with his own situation, and that's where his thoughts were. And again, I don't blame him. I mean, mortality is a scary thing. So I really have to say, however, that he made a great effort right up to the end to be the person that he was. And there's a person that many people will remember for the rest of their lives. Certainly I will. He's a person that I cannot say I can't say anything bad about him. Not that I would, but I really can't think of anything bad to say about him. That's the kind of person he was. And how many people can you say that about, really? I think that he was an outstanding person, and he helped me a lot. Just things like helping me move, and, he didn't help me financially or anything, but he helped me by being a good friend and somebody I could talk to. And I'm gonna miss him. I mean, I lost my mom in August, and now I lost Batton. I lost my best friend a few years ago. Now it's been about 6 years now, I guess. It's just it's what happens the older you get, is you start losing people, and you just have to accept it. But he lived a lot less time than he should have. He should have been around a lot longer. He should have been one of these octogenarians in comics that are still around. He really deserved the Stan Lee lifespan, when he didn't get it. He never screwed anyone over, as far as I know. He never ripped anyone off. He was always a good guy, and I'm really sorry that he had to go, because he was one of the good ones, and the world doesn't have enough of them. So anyway, Batton, I miss you, and I always will. Good night.